Happy Friday, and welcome to this week's edition of Shaynel's 3 Cents. I'm your host, Shaynel Caldwell, founder and executive director of Our Blended Families. And again, we want to welcome you to today's show. We're going to start off the show, my nice little introduction about an awesome week that I had. I want to say probably the best day of the week that I had today was probably Tuesday. Oh, yeah, my homie Michael Cohen. For those of you that had an opportunity to watch either at work or you watched it on online or you watched it later and saw some of the catch-ups and some of the news stories, former Trump attorney and homeboy Michael Cohen testified before Congress on Tuesday. And he voluntarily testified about some of the things that happened when he was in Donald Trump's employ. So those of us that are anti-Trump and anti some of the racist, bigoted, and ignorant policies that he has promoted and put forth, we anxiously wanted to hear what Cohen had to say. Not only were we aware that Michael Cohen was already facing a 3-year sentence, which he'll be starting in May, but we were kind of concerned about the reasons why he wanted to testify, because he wasn't compelled, but he volunteered. And we're actually happy that he did, because he provided an enormous amount of information about what Donald Trump does in his personal time, the things that he did in his candidacy as candidate Trump, leading up to some of the emails that came out via WikiLeaks for Hillary Clinton, some of the alleged payments that he made to some of the prostitutes and or some of the other lady workers that he was working with. And of course, he brought the receipts. And then some other information about how he laundered his money, how he had some other shady business dealings and things of that era. So it was really a great moment for TV. I mean, it was literally better than, Scandal, some of the other shows that are on TV. So we were really watching it, with wide eyes. The moment that kind of pertains to our topic of discussion today kind of had a interesting moment with Representative Mark Meadows and his homegirl and I say friend for our, because of course, as a Black/African-American woman watching Lynn Patton. Those of you that don't know, Congressman Mark Meadows actually said that Donald Trump is not a racist because, look, we have a black woman that he has appointed in his cabinet. And so we're all looking, and we could see Miss Lynn Patton, who sits on the administration, standing there. She had her sunglasses on. She looked very dignified. But I was hurt. I was embarrassed. And I was like, really? Just because you have a black person working for you means that you cannot be racist? Okay, here we go back into that whole area of ignorance, because again, that goes to what we always say, oh, you have one black friend. And mind you, she's not the only black person that works for him. Did he forget that he also had Omarosa that worked in his cabinet, who was fired and also alleged, and they wrote a whole book and had a tour about how he was racist and how he treated her and how he treats other people. Now, mind you, he didn't get Ben, Mr. Carson, to come and stand up and say, oh, look, he hired him, because again, we're all kind of, we think that we already know. We've heard some of the things that he said, or rather a multitude of things that he said from his ideas and practices that not only lead us to believe that he practices racist things, but also that he believes in his heart that the white race is superior to any other race, which makes him a racist. So again, this was one of those moments where we had to side-eye Mark Meadows. Not only that, but the fact that the news media were able to provide 2 separate clips of Mark Meadows being racist himself, talking about, oh, I can't wait to send Barack Obama back to Kenya or wherever he came from. So again, it's one of those things that, we just kind of look around and say, okay, I see you, and I'm watching what's happening. And those of you that are African-American, black, just like me, we're watching. We're reserving most of our judgment, but we will always have our little commentary and our 3 cents about, really though, that's your girl. And Miss Lynn, we see you. We're glad that you have a job. We hope that you're moving forward. We hope that you're picking up some others along the trail. And I'm hoping that you're not able to see any of those racist things that some of the other black folks who work in the administration have seen. So with that, we're going to go into a break, and we'll come back with our 2 guests today, talking about all things following up on Black History, because today is March 1st, the beginning of Women's History Month. But we're going to talk about all those things that we talked about February 1st to the 28th, wrap up a few things. And then we're also going to talk about, as I mentioned before, are we black? Are we African-American? What are we calling ourselves nowadays? And we're also going to talk a little bit about some of the most recent incidences of alleged racism that have happened involving our children in the school system. So with that, we're going to take a short break, and we'll see you right back.
looking for placement out here.
Welcome back to Shaynel's 3 Cents. Again, I am Shaynel Caldwell, and we are here with the beautiful, awesome, talented, my sister, Miss Diva Shar Robinson, and the handsome, talented, smart Mr. Valario Johnson, which we refer to as VJ. So again, thank you all for coming today and sharing with us this wrap-up of Black History Month. So I was kind of excited about watching all the things that happened during the month. Of course, we had some good stuff. We had some scandalous stuff. Shout out to Pastor Macklin because I learned a lot church on Sunday online about the root of the word scandal and how it came from the Greek folks, how that came to be about. But just all those things that came about that made us feel good about ourselves, that, I'm Black and I'm proud and all that good stuff. But also some of those things are like, oh, God, I can't believe that happened. But, of course, what'd you say, I'm light-skinned? But, again, all those things that kind of made us feel good. Of course, we saw the Oscars a couple weeks ago that we had the most number of Black Oscar awardees that made us feel good. Yay. Shout out to all the folks. Yes, all the Black Panther awardees and all that good stuff. Yeah. Everything with public office. Not sure that you're aware, but last year, 2018, we had the highest number of Black people that ran for public office. And it was specifically 460 Black women that ran for public office across the United States. So that was certainly history in the making. And those of you that live in the DMV in our area, you also see a lot of the strong Black women that are in leadership areas in Prince George's County.
Pretty Girl County.
Pretty Girl County. I don't live there no more, but I was in Anne Arundel.
We here now. Pretty Girl County.
And of course in Washington, D.C., you're awesome mayor.
Yeah, 2 terms.
Yes,
there we go.
Yes.
First ever.
Yes. So again, awesome things. Those of you that may follow the Winter Olympics, personally I don't, but we did have a huge number of Black athletes in the Winter Olympics this year. So this was a pretty good showing for the beginning of 2019 for Black History Month. So it's kind of exciting to see all those things. So as we're talking that, because we're not going into R. Kelly and we're not going into Mr. Of course, I can't think of his name.
Who?
That was in Cook County with R. Kelly.
I've been missing some of the news.
Yeah, who's
That's okay. We're not going to talk about it. But now that we've gone through the years, you all know that our ancestors, they were called
everything.
Anything. But they started as the Negroes from when they came over.
They were enslaved Africans at first.
Enslaved Africans.
Savages before that.
That too.
We got a lot of name changes out here.
Well, and that's what we're going to talk about, the name changes, because as you may have mentioned, I said earlier, Black African American. How do we identify ourselves now? In 2019, of course, we're in the 21st century. We started from all those things that VJ said earlier to officially on public government documents as Negroid, to colored, to Black, and to African American. So are we Black now, or are we African American, or is it okay that we use them interchangeably? Because I think our non-Black folks want to know: is it okay to say this? It is okay to say that.
Well, we know what they can't say, but
I guess if we want to be politically correct, we would identify ourselves as African American because that's what society has deemed to be politically correct for us. I guess individually we will have to decide what we want to be, because looking at from the beginning, from being slaves to now, the name continues to change, but no other race continues to change their name. I know my son is looking for himself, and he identifies himself as a Hebrew Israelite because he doesn't know any other way to define himself. And I understand his views, but I haven't got to the point that I'm openly identifying myself as a Hebrew Israelite because I'm still doing some research to find out what does sound appropriate and what sounds right in my heart. And right now, I guess what sounds right in my heart is just being politically correct with African American, because the minute we do start calling ourselves something different, everybody wants to know, where did that come from? Did where does it come from? And I haven't researched enough to say that I'm comfortable with saying this or that. So right now, I'm just identifying with what is politically correct. but I am actively doing research to figure this thing out because my son is very, very passionate about saying that he's an original Hebrew Israelite, and I just don't know that to be true yet. So I think that we need to continue having the conversation and doing some research on our own so that we can identify with something that we believe that is not going to have us, going left and right. When I say that I'm something else other than African American, then I need to be sure that that is accurate.
But how do you know you African American?
Like I said,
What
I'm
else
just
could
going
she
with the
be?
political correct word because I don't feel confident saying that I'm an original Hebrew Israelite today.
Well, I didn't.
Or any other
VJ,
thing.
well, VJ said, what else would you be? I mean, there are other people that look like us. I mean, the Australians, the Aborigines folks. Some of us could be of Aborigine descent. So while we collectively will refer to ourselves as African Americans, again, we don't know. And we look at all the countries in Africa. I mean, it doesn't matter. I know people have told me before that I have the facial features of a Cameroonian, and I was like, gosh, I look just like them. But like I said, I'm still okay with the African American, but what about you? You black or you African American, or can you be both?
I'm brown.
You can't be brown.
Brown.
Our Latino brothers and sisters, they get to call themselves brown,
Cinnamon.
so
I
you
look
can't
like,
be brown.
Like the cinnamon I put in my oatmeal in the morning.
Now, you can't be cinnamon.
Yeah.
You can't be cinnamon.
I like African in America. I think there's enough facts and history to make that okay, right? We know.
Saying African and American?
Yeah, we know there's two ways that people spread throughout the globe. The first wave was chasing food, and it started in the continent Africa. Mm-hmm. And they traveled down the coast chasing food, and they ended up a lot of different places. Mm-hmm. Right? That's a common truth. Then you have the mass migration of Africans through the slave trade. Mm-hmm. There's enough history to support that.
And how we ended up in those islands leading up to the United States. Yeah. Our folks ended up in the Bahamas, Jamaica, and all those places, Brazil.
Right. Mm-hmm. So, not knowing what specific country of the 54 on the continent or which of the thousands of ethnic groups or tribes, I'm cool with African in America. And I know history has taught me that we were enslaved Africans, right? So I'm like you, where the hell all this other stuff come from? Because all these other folks who come to America, they get to be American citizens, but they also are where they originated from.
Absolutely.
Is it one of those things that because in a professional standpoint, and I work in human resources, in the area of human resources, when you look at the paperwork, you're this, you're this, you're this, you're Hispanic, not Hispanic, or you're white. And I'm still kind of perplexes me that you have the details of a race or an ethnicity, and then you have white, and then you have this. I'm like, is it okay that one people just gets that crayon box, and then we get the African Americans, or we're talking about people, well, such and such, he's white, he's Latino, she's East Indian, and I'm black, or I'm African American. Again, because we use them interchangeably. Or does it even matter nowadays? Does it matter?
For us, since our name has been changed so many times, I don't think it really matters. It doesn't really matter, because if he wants to be Cinnamon, I'm with it. Okay.
What if I wanted to be white Anglo-Saxon Protestant? Would you be with that?
As long as you're proud of it. I mean, as long as it's real.
Now, when you're filling out your Social Security benefits, they're going to ask you, please check a box. And I don't think they have a section right now for Cinnamon, but we're going to give you about 20 years or so before that catches on.
So I check boxes relative to the stat I want to contribute to.
Okay.
But I am African in America. And I say that because identifying with a crayon color, right, doesn't give me an attachment to a place or a people. Mm-hmm. Black to me is dismissive, disregarded. It's powerful. I get the whole science behind black, but to call me black is to make me identify with a particular type of experience that in mainstream is not necessarily positive, right? So when we think black, we've been programmed to think black is bad, right? Black is poor, black is baby mama, black is hoodlum, right? We've been conditioned to believe that. So that's why I don't like black. I like African and America. I was born in this country. I'm an American citizen by right of being born here. And somewhere in my lineage, someone started on that continent. And I'm cool with that.
Okay.
I can live with that.
Okay. I'm still going to try to figure that out for myself because, as I said earlier, when we're talking to people, you say, oh, well, I'm this, I'm an African-American woman, or I'm this, I'm a black woman. I think it's okay, and I don't think many of us give a lot of credence to that, with the exception of right around Black History Month, because other people are asking and other people are being concerned about it, particularly because, as both of you stated earlier, looking back to our history and some of the things that have happened to us historically as Africans having been brought to America, a la the slave trade. Now, the last couple of weeks, the news media, and it's been all over social media, that you've heard stories about Virginia Governor Ralph Northam, his whole blackface incident. But recently, his wife had an incident that was also brought to light. Apparently, they normally do a lot of historical tours in Virginia because, of course, Virginia does have a rich slave trade. But on one of the tours, it was alleged that she was handing out cotton to black kids. And now, mind you, she wasn't just handing it out to black kids, but they were handing it out to kids to let them know the history of cotton, because cotton, you remember from your history books, cotton is king, cotton is king. It literally ran the U.S. economy for almost 100 years, up until the late 1940s. And I got on my nice cotton shirt today. Sorry, microphone, but, cotton is a huge thing. So all over social media, Facebook, Twitter, she was getting slammed at, how dare you hand these cotton balls to these kids? And right on the heels of that, or just before that, you also had the South Carolina, the Carroll School down in Rocky Mount, that had their schools coming to visit to learn about the Great Depression, and they had the kids picking cotton and singing slavery songs. And of course, we had another huge backlash about, oh, don't be having these kids picking cotton and singing these slave songs. And then we also had the school in Illinois that had the incident where they were teaching the kids in elementary school, again, during Black History Month, how to play the Underground Railroad slavery game. It was for recess. And so huge black outcry of, this is wrong, this is wrong, this is wrong. We shouldn't be doing these things to kids. And kind of looking at, I've only, for the most part, seen, and I'm still doing some research about how people are thinking, but for the most part, I'm getting a huge flourish of people that are saying all those things are wrong. We should not be having kids pick cotton. We should not have kids sing slavery songs. We should not have kids playing Underground Railroad, because all those things are racist.
So who's the we? Is it the we black folks teaching black folks? Is it the we white folks teaching black folks?
Doesn't matter, because at the Carroll School, one of the gentlemen that was actually in charge of the program, actually two of the gentlemen that were in charge of the program were actually black men. And one of them had actually attended the Carroll School back when he was young. So does it matter that it's white people teaching it, or should it just be black people teaching it?
I wouldn't pick cotton. I went to school in the South, and we was leaving Savannah on our way to Tuskegee. A couple of my buddies, I was driving. I pulled over and I made everybody get out, and we started picking cotton on the side of the road. Because I just wanted to know, like, we only did like 5-10 minutes, and it was like, that was too much. Like, I think that's an experience that, like, you appreciate where you come from, and how you evolved, and how you ain't got to do that no more. I mean,
it's different when you're doing it yourself, but when you're teaching other people, what is the intent? Why are you doing it? What is the expected outcome? What do you expect to achieve by doing this when you're teaching children? So I don't really have enough
information. Well, as an educator yourself, what do you think the
Yeah,
other alleged
as an
educators
educator.
were thinking.
I wouldn't touch that for the simple fact that I know the parents that I work with would stone me, and it would not be. I don't think the population I work with would think that it would be appropriate. So that's not something that I would even dream of thinking about.
So what should we teach? Should we teach shoe shining? Our black folks used to do that, and they came through pretty good with
I think
solid
educating
careers
and doing
and business.
hands-on picking,
Hands-on cotton picking?
hands-on cotton picking are two different things. I don't mind educating about it, but the hands-on activity, I'm not. I have to investigate that.
What about milking a cow or making ice cream the old way?
Those-
do we?
That has significance.
How sensitive are we to some of this stuff, right? Are we overly sensitive to some of this stuff? I mean,
We may be, but again, it depends on the population that you're teaching. You have to know your population. I know in the where I work at in Baltimore, I don't think that they're ready for teachers to be giving kids cotton, especially when we're living in a society where a lot of African Americans are living in poverty and despair, and they don't have the same resources and opportunities. I don't think that it would be appropriate to take our kids somewhere to pick cotton when we're trying to get them to understand their purpose and where they're going in life, and to realize their dreams and aspirations. Nobody wants to grow up and be a cotton picker.
but what if picking cotton was about empowerment? What if
We got to
picking
make
cotton,
the message has to be that.
What if picking cotton was this is what?
So you're saying it's how you structure the curriculum.
It's how you
Okay,
structure the
okay.
curriculum. That's
Because-
my point.
Because for a while, this is what all our people was doing
Absolutely.
by force,
Yes.
against their will,
People died.
and then
Millions.
by circumstance with Jim Crowism, right?
Yeah.
Tobacco and cotton, right? So it's like, in my mind, I could see myself taking my son to a cotton field and be like, yeah, dude, like, appreciate what you got. We took a group of kids after Katrina down to Katrina to build houses.
Down in
And
New
these a bunch of kids complaining about their life ain't about much. But I'm like, all right, well, this is what life really is when it ain't about much, when you have nothing. So I don't know. I'm with you. What's the purpose behind the lesson? I think we're overly sensitive, super hypersensitive about everything. Everything is too offensive nowadays. But,
It's got to be encouraging and inspiring. It just can't be, left there to say, oh, we're doing cotton and this is what black folks had to go through. Where's the message? Where's the curriculum? Where's the empowerment? Where's the inspiration? This is where we may have started, but this is where we're ending. I need to see the full picture. I just can't go by, we're going to teach kids how to pick cotton.
Mm-hmm.
Where's the message? That's all I'm saying.
Yeah.
Because
All right,
I think we
where's the
need to be educated, but it's how you educate. Don't let it be derogatory education. People need to feel accomplished at the end.
And I agree, and I think that also kind of adds on to what we refer to as clickbait, where people see the headline and people are jumping and being upset that they had my black child picking cotton. My opinion is that, as you said, VJ, it's a worthwhile activity, and I think it's something that we should make note of, because not only was it a way of life for slaves and later for indentured servants after we came out of slavery, but it was a business, and it was a thriving business. And after the end of slavery, there were actually, what do you do with the cotton afterwards? You had the textile mills, you had the looms where they actually took the cotton and actually made it into cloth. You loom it strand by strand, and then you end up selling it. And so while that was just the root, you have to understand, that there's a process to it. And not only that, I think we also forget the things that our ancestors went through. And I'm a huge proponent of saying this new generation, they got some issues. And even in my generation, a lot of us have issues to where we don't understand and appreciate where our ancestors come from. So when I hear these parents saying, I can't believe they did this to my kid, okay, well, that's your same kid that's cussing at the teachers because they have a lack of respect. This is the same parent that's probably never voted before in their life. But you had our ancestors that were fighting and dying for the ability to go vote and say, yes, I want a street light on my block. You needed to vote to do that. So I'm like, hold up now. Like you said, you being a little overly sensitive. We need to be mindful that, yes, these things happen, because if we recognize them and they're brought to light, not just for us to be talking about at our house, you come to my house and we talking this, yeah, what's up, but for other people, other nations, other races need to know how difficult this was. And so absolutely. For me, I was happy to read about, oh, they got them kids picking cotton. Oh, look at that little white boy over there picking cotton. Oh, look at that little Indian boy over there picking cotton. Oh, look at that little Latino girl over there picking cotton. These are things that they need to know because they understand how it caused the oppression of a people. And when you oppress people, these are the things that happen afterwards. So I think that it was of great importance, and I think that the people that took it out of boundaries probably didn't realize the importance of such. The term backbreaking, oh, this is backbreaking work. You know, I got to mop and sweep and cook and clean. That came from, of course, you know, when people were picking cotton, those terms, because the cotton fields, the cotton was about this high, and you actually had to lean over and pick the cotton, and you also had your hands that got pricked in the process of pricking cotton. And so it's a recognition to say, oh my goodness, I'm so grateful that I was born when I was born. I'm so grateful that my ancestors endured that to get to where we are today.
Many of them didn't.
Exactly. But it's something that I think our young children need to be taught, and those parents that are upset and ashamed and crying and whining about it, I think they need to see it from a different perspective. Now, as you said, Shar, you know, maybe the curriculum wasn't tailored appropriate to maybe mention all those things, but I would hope that it was.
Yeah.
Because I think that a major part of the reason that black people, African American people are disconnected as a whole, because we have shown blatant disrespect for the strides that our people have made here in the U.S. Because we don't appreciate that you couldn't hang out on a corner and smoke weed and shoot the breeze back in the day, because you weren't allowed on those corners. You couldn't go to a business and talk crazy about, well, I want a number 4. Didn't I tell you I want a number 4? Or whatever we're doing in society, you got to do it because our ancestors had to withstand some stuff. And they had to make it through all those things. And so, like I said, that whole thing with Pam Northern, she apologized if she offended anyone. I thought that was great. Other people were saying, well, that's all she said. That's not an apology. I don't know why she had to apologize, because we need to see those things. We need to know those things. There are people talking about, people making jokes about Mexicans. Well, I love strawberries, but I ain't picking no strawberries. Oh, I love this fruit. I mean, do y'all know any friends that actually work on a farm, that actually farm for the produce that we go to Wegmans to pick up? Or we going to Shoppers and Safeway and picking up? You know, but we're also using that as a tactic. Oh, I don't care that they're getting paid this much money to pick that stuff. I just want my strawberries when I go to the store. So it's a whole nother venue. It's a whole nother venue.
Yes, it is.
I mean, even the whole Underground Railroad thing, the kids playing at the gym, and apparently it was an obstacle course that the teacher had designed for the kids to, you had to jump over this, you had to go through this, and, you know, you had to chase, and someone had to be the slave catcher, and someone actually had to be the slave. Oh, they made my kid the slave. Okay, how many of y'all kids have little toy guns and they running around playing cowboys and Indians? I mean, do we not know that there are still Native Americans that are offended by that whole cowboys and Indians game?
I wish I'd have thought about that when I was teaching social studies.
It's not too late. You can go back.
I used to let the kids dress up like the founding fathers. Like, they would pick a founding father and they would do research on that and they would become that founding father. And then they would have to...
Did you make them wear a white puffy wig?
No. But, I mean, we ain't go that far. But they would have to then get the Declaration of Independence signed, right? So they would figure out during lunch or during recess how they would work. And then we had British folks, you know, and the whole class would be made up of, this experience, right? So you had your Benjamin Franklin, your Thomas Jeffersons, you know, and everybody would act it out. So I don't know. I'm not that sensitive.
I researched some of the founding fathers. Weren't some of them white supremacists?
Well,
yeah,
but at that time, they were anti-Britain, so we don't care about them anti-Britain. And of course,
it was interesting facts on the founding fathers. I just wanted to say that since he mentioned that, because it was interesting. We did a lot of studying of the founding fathers when my kids were doing some Christian studies through homeschooling, and it was a lot of amazing facts. I won't get into them because I don't remember them all, but they were very interesting. The history of our founding fathers is very interesting. People should study it.
A people for their people is just that, for their people, right? You get to a place where you got, like I was watching Schindler's List. I didn't watch it like 3 times, right, this week, right? I don't know how I got onto it. It just popped in my head.
I never finished it, Schindler's
So
List.
I didn't watch Schindler's
Tears,
List
and I can't do it.
3 times in like a week.
I haven't seen
right?
it.
So you know what it's about, or?
No, share it for our viewing audience.
So Schindler's List is about Hitler's Germany and what they were doing to the Jewish people, and as they were evolving. So you can see how the Jewish people were changing policy and just moving Jews to their annihilation with different rules and cattle calling them and segregating them. And it's about this businessman, Jewish businessman, who was during this period making money, right, off of Jewish economies, their local economies, their underground economies. And then he had a change of heart when he saw the back end of what the country was doing. So at first it was okay. All right, I'm a German, you Jews. Okay, cool. Y'all over there, we over here. It's kind of all right, cool.
Look,
I'm making my money. I'm with the winning side or whatever. It's cool. But then he got exposed to what was really going on. So through his consciousness, he started just hiring Jews to work in his business because the way that the country was working, like Jewish businessmen could do whatever as long as they make money, for the country. And he was just hiring Jews, putting them in his factory. And while it looked like he was making them work long hours or making them do stuff, he actually was saving their lives through his business.
Yeah, the Germans thought that he was on their side. Yeah,
Right.
Get them, do this to them.
Right.
Generate them.
So, but to that point is, I think if we all go through history, I don't care black or white, the ruling class is always mean to the non-ruling class, right? That's just a messy thing about people, right?
Absolutely.
So when we talk about white people being white supremacists, I'm kind of like, all right, you for your own people, right? And now it gets to an extreme where you want to hurt me or suppress me, oppress me, then that's when we get the problem.
There's
But
a problem.
when I went to Indiana University for a diversity exchange program, it hit me like I was in classrooms with people who are 18, 19, 20 years old, and I'm their first black person that they ever seen in life, right?
Okay.
That they had relationship with. Similar, when I went away to college, most of my life was, I didn't have any white friends, right? So I go to college, right? I'm like, oh, okay, I'm seeing white folks. So we seeing each other through the lens of media, right? And I'm kind of empathetic to like, that sucks for you because you don't know nothing else. Like you super ignorant, right? So
All you know is what's been shown to you.
right. So are they super ignorant? Are they white supremacists? It's a thin line between the two, but a super ignorant person is that. And if you look at in a white class, a white supremacist is someone who specifically wants to hurt people unlike them, right?
Can't oppress them.
Right. So that's not ignorant white person is not arbitrarily a white supremacist, right? They're just stupid. They're just ignorant, right? But it's hard for us to figure that out, right, in our society
Until they
because
open their mouth.
yeah, so we should encourage them to continue to do this dumb stuff like this because it tells us who they really are.
Teaching us.
Yeah, don't make everybody hide behind politeness and politically correct. I want to know who you are. Call me Nigger. So at least
I know not to do business with you.
right, so I don't have to go over my resume again and think it's something in my career path or my education that I need to do differently. You weren't going to hire me no matter what
Absolutely.
because you don't like me, right? So we want everybody to be nice and play in the sand again. I don't want to play with you if you don't like me. Tell me straight up. And when I was in the South, I love Southern people for that. The Southern white folks, hey, I don't like you, boy. My man, cool. We good. We know where we are.
Okay.
You can work with them, you can make money with them, but like you ain't going to their house.
That makes me think of Green Book, the Oscar look for Green
For
Book.
real, they'll respect you. You know, they give you a little level of respect for your work, your prowess, whatever you're good at, right? But hey, man, I'm white, you black. You over there, I'm over here. Cool. I need to know that.
Absolutely.
I don't want you to be smiling in my face, invite me over to your house with tea and cookies, and then I get fired when you go back to your office because you got some stupid stuff going on in your head.
Absolutely.
So we got to work that out. But let's not be so kumbaya, man, that we think these people are really about us when they're not really about us.
Absolutely.
Let them tell us
And
that
these
they're not
and these
about us.
people could be anyone, you know.
I'm not being racial here. I'm being human here.
Absolutely.
These things exist throughout humanity, throughout the history of humanity. It's just right now white folks have they're the dominant economic class, so they get to do
Because
what
they
they're
robbed
doing.
it from us.
You know,
Colonizers.
we gave it to them. You know, we gave it to them. You know,
Some of
we
that
cooperated.
as well.
We
Some of that as
cooperated.
well.
Man can't ride your back unless it's bent. Who said that?
Okay, I'm gonna interject on that. So, I think it bears repeating that there's nothing wrong with having a love of culture, a love of your community, a love for people who look like you and share the same story in the background as you. It just becomes a problem when you start to input racist ideas behind it that my race is better than yours. I mean, now we know that. They look at black athletes, oh, they're this, and that. Okay, that's good and great, but that still doesn't mean that we are the best athletes ever and that you're going to just pick someone just because they're black, because that shows racist undertones. But
that's genetically true. Like, no, hold on. History says black folks are physically superior.
Okay, so does that mean NFL, NBA, other sports where black people dominate?
I'm just saying
they
wherever
still have
we go.
non-black people on their team.
No, we're not saying that, but we're just saying wherever
I just really want to choke that boy Gronk right now because I'm like, he's so dope and so good. I can't stand him and his team.
But he ain't no Shannon Sharp.
Like us.
He ain't no Shannon Sharp out here though. So look, Sterling Sharp. Like we got some.
He ain't playing with them. You can't
Gates,
it's comparing
right?
the two.
I know.
That whole LeBron Jordan, you can't compare the two.
But does science? So they worked many years to put information out there to support their oppressive practices. We do know that, right? They created research and science to support a belief system that wasn't true. But
much like the laws
history
that they created.
History tells us, right, the reason why we came over here as Africans in enslavement, because couldn't nobody else endure the passage, right? The passage, the work. Our genetics was not susceptible to a lot of disease and stuff that they was dying. Native Americans was dying. Asians was dying. So there's some truth to how God made black folks for a reason, right? Because history. I'm just talking about history.
Yeah.
They would test us, would give us disease to see what was making us,
Yeah.
So we still here and we're still standing. I mean, to me, I am kind of, I'm superior. I ain't superior because I think I'm superior just because I just want to think that. But I think our history.
You see me cutting my eyes at you?
I think our history.
Can y'all see me cutting my eyes at him?
What other race of people been through
making
400
some
years
points.
of slavery and they still standing and they winning and that's something to be proud of.
Well, I'm not negating that. I'm not negating that.
But
that's all things here in the United States because remember there are still other countries, there are still 6 other continents that have people out there that are successful and thriving. Now, mind you, not all of them went through the tumultuous slave trade that we went through.
5 of them are full of black folk. You got Europe.
Dark color.
Right. You got Europe, and then you got Asia. You got Africa. You got Australia. You got North and South America. You got the Arctic. You got the Arctic. Ain't nobody dominating the Arctic right now, but the polar bears, right?
They live and survive.
And the penguins, right? And the seals. They good out there, right? There ain't too many of us out there. But if you look at all other pieces of land throughout the world, it's brown folk and black folk and colored folk, right? Because it's something about us, our genetics, the melanin in our skin that works similar to chlorophyll. Like, that's why you get excited when you got a sunny day, just like the plants get excited and they get food from the sun rays. Like, there's some things going on out here. Let's not act like.
I think that's good. I think that's good, and you're absolutely right.
I don't want to go too deep into
this.
Yeah.
The science supports that. However, we still have a large number of our population that's not, whose melanin is not propelling them into success.
What? Who's them people?
The people that are living below the poverty line.
Oh, that's economic stuff, right?
But I'm saying, are you saying that
that's systematic oppression through regulations and laws that need to be changed? And
some of it.
No. It's like Trading Places with Eddie Murphy and Dan Aykroyd. You remember that movie?
That's
a powerful movie.
I remember that movie. And
I watched that movie the other day.
It was definitely ahead of its time. But the point that I wanted to...
The white boy went to straight trash when they bet the dollar. And Valentine, he became a successful trader.
Eddie Murphy.
Mm-hmm. Right? So it
given
just
the opportunity.
Give me the circumstances and the system where I can win, I will win.
Absolutely.
But what I like about
everyone doesn't have that drive. Not all of our people have that drive.
No.
Some of us do, and those of us that do need to make sure that we're pushing that out and letting other people's and reinforcing it where they have been overcome by people, teachers, a culture, a community saying you're not going to be nothing, you're never going to be anything, to where they've adopted that. We still need to do those reach backs and, hey, how can we help you? Hey, you
just
can do
put
this,
our
you can
people
do that.
in those systems. You put our people in those systems. Like, if you get a black student into Georgetown, they're going to make him graduate. He can't. In order for him to fail.
You can't tell me that there haven't been any black students that dropped out of Georgetown.
That's different.
That's
you
not
elected
different.
to quit moving forward.
Because now, and this is really good, because now we're really talking about the whole racist thing, that black people are superior. There's some science that talks about our physical
That's
being.
what I'm talking about.
Yeah, some science that talks about our physical being, but there are other factors that make us humans that absolutely confirms that no, there's not one race that is superior to the others, because it depends on what you mean and what do you need them for.
So why are they scared of all these colored folk, these melanin-enriched folks coming to this country? They ain't blocking Europeans from getting to this country. They're blocking people with melanin in their skin from getting to this country.
But most of them from.
Why is that? Because if I have a baby with that white woman.
Okay, so basically what you're saying is
I'm just saying
that you are racist,
that baby,
and that black people are superior.
That baby
to
gonna come out
races.
with some melanin, and then it's gonna come out.
We know that we have dominant genes. We know that we have dominant
That's
genes.
That's science. I'm not being racist because that's science.
No, that is racist. The definition of racism says that you believe your race is dominant to other races. That you're superior
that ain't
to
what
other
racism
races.
says.
That is the definition of racism.
Racism is a systematic oppression. It's a power imbalance between prejudices between one race and another race. I'm not a racist because science tells me that I have a different genetic makeup. A racist is I'm in a position of power and I'm going to purposely and systematically discriminate against someone else that's not a part of my race.
Now,
bet me some money.
No, I'm not.
So I don't need to go into my education background with you.
No.
And
I'm not.
One of y'all
I'm not
used the Urban Dictionary, and the other one of y'all used the regular dictionary.
No, and I'm not saying that at all. But it's different types of racism.
Prejudice, discrimination,
institutional
or
racism. Whether or not we're looking at systematic racism, we're looking at economic racism. There are different things that tag onto the racism, but the overarching theme of racism is thinking that your race is superior to another.
Okay, so let's look at the definition that you use. We're going to have two definitions, right? Okay, so prejudice, discrimination, or antagonism. Hold on.
Let's do Oxford. We're going to go to Oxford because that's
my
favorite
dictionary. Why? Because that's white? Because it's in Europe?
You identify with it best.
Well, a lot of my studies.
You don't want to use Miriam?
Yes.
You don't?
I ain't using. Look, wait. Little quick side note. I was talking to my stepmom the other day, and we were talking about baby names because I'm soon to be a grandma, And she says, "Oh, well, what's some of the names you looking at? Something." And she said Tatiana. I was like, no. We ain't naming the grandbaby Tatiana because they got a song out now called Tatiana, and that's way too close to all that drama. Oh, Lord
Tatiana.
Jesus. Tatiana.
Okay.
Tatiana.
So we're gonna use her definition, right? She's
teasing.
She's pulled a definition from Merriam-Webster that supports her case, right? So a belief, right, that race is the primary determinant of human traits and capacities, and that racial differences produce an inherent superiority of a particular race. All right, let's stop right there.
Okay.
Belief could be true, might not be true, but that's what we think to be true. That's what a belief is. We got science to say hope. We got science to talk about us and our makeup and how we've been able to get through. The primary reason we were bought into slavery is because of our biological makeup. Science. Because we're stronger. Right? Because our genes, like, why we come over here if we wasn't, they didn't go get us because we were weak.
Hello.
No,
they didn't go get Africans because they were weak.
There are a couple different reasons behind that, and we'll have to follow up another show. Show. No. No, there are a lot of different reasons behind that because, of course, you can't come and overthrow a government that has a strong government. So there were particular countries that were targeted for slavery because they had weak governments and because they had weak armies and they had no other way to defend.
That ain't why they came and got us out of Africa.
Well, they couldn't just go to England and grab some people from England. They couldn't just go to different Indian companies.
They came to Africa
even
to
though
get
all
Africans.
Countries had slaves. All countries had slaves from varying
countries.
Facts,
historical facts. They came to Africa to get Africans because they were superior in agriculture.
Okay, we're going to have to wind that down to another show. Because
I could do the homework on you. Let me do this next show. Let me do it.
No, we have somebody else coming on for the next show, but this will definitely follow up.
She don't want
this,
no truth.
No, this has opened up a nice venue for reasons why black people can be racist because don't interrupt. Whether or not you support the idea of racism. If you support the idea, then you are an ist to that idea.
This is pride.
You are an ist to that idea.
You gotta have a definition.
And vice versa. That kind of makes sense why white people are similarly racist because they're like, no, we don't want you guys to be all this great, so we're going to set up a system that's opposite that.
Because we're automatically already great, and they have created systems to work against our inherent greatness.
Yes.
It's a design.
Because we are the only great people on this
In
planet.
American history, the first slave came to Jamestown, Virginia. Hold on, let me finish. Came to Jamestown, Virginia in 1619
I
or something
feel like
that.
Taylor Swift now, and Kanye's not letting me finish.
Hold on. I get excited about this.
You got 30 seconds.
He's a historian.
In the beginning of American history, there was no slave trade determined by race. It was all indentured service, indentured servitude.
That is correct.
They instituted a racial component to the laws because why? Black folks stood out over the white folks. So when the white folks didn't serve their 7 years of indentured, they were free out here. All they just got to run somewhere else. But when a black person ran, oh no, you can't. You come back here because I don't know. We gonna make you.
We were also easily identifiable.
So let's look at history.
No, your time is up.
Okay.
Your time is up. And look, you guys
I need
give
an
us some
audience.
feedback. You guys give us some feedback
Yeah.
online on YouTube. Check out the YouTube channel under Vox Wave on the Vox Wave channel,
History.
Vox-Wave under YouTube. Feel free to add some comments. Those of you that are watching on Facebook, feel free to chime in and add some comments as well. And hopefully we will circle back around this during the wonderful month of Women's Recognition and Women's History Month that March 1st actually denotes. And then we want to say thank you so much, Shar, for coming out. Thank you, VJ, for being on the show again today. We certainly appreciate the comments and the contributions that you made to the conversation surrounding our Black History Month wrap-up and all things around sensitivity and culture. Yes. We certainly hope that those of you who are watching will be with us next week as our guest We'll be
What is it?
returning.
This is right hand.
We will be. You got the wrong hand.
The right hand.
Next
right?
week we'll have our guest that will be
There we
coming
go.
back because we'll have more conversations about marijuana,
Get some
weed,
money.
ganja, and hopefully the economic oppression and or an economic rejuvenation that we'll see behind the plant that is marijuana. So again, we want to say thank you so much for tuning in today. We hope you appreciate everything that we said, but if not, at least you heard it. We'll see you back next week.
Bye-bye.